Fellas, I do not usually do follow-ups to topics I've already covered this quickly, but there has been major news that is broken, apparently right after I decided to originally cover the Earclax weapon balls topic. Hey fellas, and welcome back to With a Y, and we sincerely need to talk about Lance versus Duplicator and its consequences. If you guys don't know, Duplicator is the most cracked weapon ball on the scene as of now. And this video has blown up in ways that these original ones have not, because there has been a complete upset in the hierarchy. Duplicator has been able to take out pretty much every weapon ball they have gone up against with minimal difficulty. And I'm gonna spoil this right now. Lance has done an upset. In 50 seconds, they have pulled off an unlikely and quite frankly, breathtaking and nail-biting win. We're gonna watch through this together. I'll go over like why this is a crazy win in a minute here, but let's just get into the battle itself so you can see how ridiculous it was that this was as close as it got.
Lance versus Duplicator. Who will win?
The first thing you need to realize, if you haven't seen Lance combat footage before, is that Lance has an invincibility frame mode, where whenever it shows the shield, it's technically invulnerable, and everything it hits, it does extra damage to. I'm fairly certain it's like being pierced through the abdomen by, go figure, a lance. You're one and done when you get fucking impaled on that shit. So that is an attack you need to avoid. You would think this gives Duplicator a natural advantage because it can create a bunch of duplicates that can like be bounced off of to allow it to escape. Let's see what happens.
Who will win?
Lance has some of the same abilities as Laser in that, like, it rotates a lot and has long range so that if it swipes you on, like, a downturn, it can get some hits on you, but its DPS output is not nearly as large as Laser's is. It does its thrusts on a timer. So whichever way it's facing, it's going to make that lunge and try and hit the Duplicator with it. And you can see here, it managed to get a good hit. It's at 98 health before it gets hit with that. And like, see how it cuts right the fuck through, and you can't do any damage to it just by bouncing off? Important to notice. Now, this star indicates that this is the host Duplicator instance. This is the prime one that you need to take down if you want to get rid of all the clones at once. The things the clones are supposed to do is run interference and act as protection for the Queen Bee. Again, we see Duplicator is currently in the zone where it exponentially grows the amount of instances it has to do damage. The thing is, for Duplicator, it's usually able to just like out DPS any opponent it ever has because of how many instances it can create. A miss from Lance on that lunge, but that's alright. Another miss. The thing is, like, as more Duplicator instances are created, unlike Laser, Lance has piercing power, which means it can do damage to multiple balls at once and go through them, as opposed to having its laser stopped. Its hitbox supersedes any blockage. Look at this madness, dude. Like, Lance is at 50%, but then, it shows that it's still got some fight left in it. One lunge! Almost all of them gone. Ridiculous. Insane fucking play. This is still a dire straits because it does not take long for Duplicator to get its numbers back up. It just needs to survive long enough in order to wear down the Lance. It doesn't fucking matter though, down to 3. Key moment here incoming. Look at this lunge. Look at how close we were. Whoa! Lance only needs to get lucky once. Duplicator needs to get lucky every time. Look at that bare mid-dodge. Oh, it was almost all over right there. But if Duplicator can hold out for just a little longer, it might be able to make it through this. Another duplication, the numbers are back up. Oh, Lance is almost out of the game. But on 2 health, it gets the perfect fucking lunge shot. Holy shit! And as soon as he got Duplicator Prime, all the dupes were out. It did not matter anymore. This is, quite frankly, one of the most nail-biting Twitterverses things I've ever seen. The replies and the quote tweets have been absolutely ecstatic. I'm gonna pass it to Tevin over here for some explanation on just how absurd this win was. I can't believe I'm about to explain brain rot history, but the Duplicator has been destroying every other weapon for days now, moving like King Von. The Lance has been average at best and is not all that good. So what we just witnessed might be the most legendary upset since David and Goliath. Don't forget pre-nerf dagger lore. I don't want to get into that right now. Let's just enjoy the good vibes we're having right now. Must everything come back to the dark times? People have been in the streets celebrating the unlikely win. Most people were just rooting against Duplicator for the sake of it, but for Lance to be the weapon ball that actually secured the victory is incredibly unexpected and makes it an even more triumphant story. From Deegis, friend of the channel, the evil has been defeated. Pack watch. A lot of reaction gifs like this, you know, predictable, haha, your guy lost the fight stuff. But then you had the occasional person who was getting very, very invested in their Duplicator agenda, where like, it was almost a surefire bet that Duplicator was going to win. Duplicator when my parlay depends on him, and losing to Lance of all people. You could argue that this was just genuinely a bad matchup for Duplicator, maybe one of the only bad matchups, where if it was anybody other than Lance, they could have kept up their streak. I think there's a good argument that Lance would not do very good against Grower, unless that's already happened and I'm a fake fan who hasn't seen it, but it was the fact that Lance has piercing power and can kill multiple balls at once that made it a good matchup with Duplicator, which is really the only ball you'd have to worry about multiple enemies you have to contend with and destroy in order to be viable against them. Duplicator, when he has to face someone above F tier, he froze. My guy hasn't moved in 40 minutes, and I don't think that's entirely true. Duplicator has some genuinely impressive feats on its repertoire. He fucking did it. He really fucking did it, and there's like 7,000 likes on this. This was like genuine joy that people didn't expect to be able to experience from this particular Twitter trend, man. Like, some people were falling into the same hopelessness they had when their favorite horse race test horse just couldn't get a single fucking win for the life of them. Duplicator trying to look tough by going against elementary schooler level threats until now. That's the thing. People just are forgetting the win that Duplicator had on Unarmed, when Unarmed has also been incredibly dominant in its performances, except when it had to fight Duplicator. In horse race tests, I think the most that went into each horse that made it better than the others was the geometry of its pixel art and how that made it bounce off stuff. There are much clearer advantages and strengths that each weapon ball has compared to that format. The matchups can be much more, if not predicted, game plan for and against than you could in horse race tests. Like, Orange had like an outstanding winning streak, but occasionally even they choked. And that was just because their geometry was just weird enough to be, most times out of 10, the most successful in the league. Duplicator when the match actually matters, and it's just, yeah, I'm a fucking fat ass now. That's not fair to this guy. He's actually low-key rocking this whole look. Like, I would argue he has more suave hitting this pose than the muscled up guy on the poster. This dude looks stiff and like he's posing for the camera. This is a guy who's just genuinely caught in a candid moment, coincidentally doing the same thing, which means he can't be Duplicator, who is incredibly forced. You have the usual Hitler comparisons of the competitor that I like the least is literally Hitler. Duplicator takes off the mask, and I do appreciate that they colored the mask purple. The tyranny is over, holy shit! And I think a lot of Duplicator fans are just having to come to terms with that their favorite is not as invincible as they thought. That almost makes their story more compelling though. Like, if an MMA fighter loses, there's almost like a want to see them come back from like a single loss and continue their streak. It's not impossible, like it's in the downtimes that you have to test yourself if you're truly a fan or weren't just there for the wave. I look forward to seeing if Duplicator can recoup their previously held reputation. Time to retire, Duplicator. They're putting your jersey in the dumpster. You had a good career. It wasn't a great one. This is also how people talk about MMA fighters a lot of the time. After a single loss, they're just saying, like, just fucking go back to the bench, man. You got, like, as much of a bag as Dana White's gonna allow any singular fighter to get within the UFC. You might as well move on. Duplicator, you bum! I put the house on you! You got a little too parasocial with that weapon ball, didn't you, man? You thought he was never gonna let you down, but unfortunately, he just wasn't everything he was cracked up to be. The fact that it was Lance that beat Duplicator, A, makes it really easy for me to do my obligatory Delta mention. Oh my god, Lancer saved the day, he defeated tyranny. But also, like, any character that's like can be seen in a victory pose holding anything that vaguely resembles a lance is now something you can post as like a victory gif. Incredible repurposing ability with this whole thing. Now, a lot of people are saying that Lance's win over Duplicator is only possible because of the fights that Duplicator had previous. Unarmed came incredibly close to winning that Duplicator match. Lance going into that match after Unarmed showed the world that Dupe bleeds leads. It's your turn now. How are you dick riding so hard? You're giving Unarmed credit for another balls win. No one's taking the win away from Lance. They're only acknowledging the fact that this is an ever-growing meta and that every contribution to it helps build the tech involved. In the same way that the strats to beat Duplicator were built off previous fights he had won, if Duplicator is to have a comeback, it can be built off of the fights that it has lost and can then learn from. In fact, you can argue that losses are better to learn from. Unarmed being the first sub 50 and Lance just being another personal favorite, that's it. Honestly, I appreciate someone who has the balls to admit their bias. This is truly like the first incident of like ear clacks weapon ball stuff that I've seen the people doing it like really start to agenda post with like image edits and just straight up fan art. Lance, as Darth Vader says, you are surrounded. And it actually really fits with this Darth Vader image because all the troopers he's surrounded by are Duplicator balls. I would have personally taken the effort to make every single individual instance of a person trying to kill Darth Vader in the background also the purple Duplicator ball, but whatever. All I am surrounded by is fear and dead men. And if the Lance is the lightsaber, it's so fucking goated. Oh my fucking god. When I saw this on the Kwote retweets, I did not see that he was scribbling over the original numbers, so I actually had to check like an idiot. When did Hitler die? December 6, 2025. Yippee! You had people doing like edits of Thrag with Battle Beast worn like a cloak with Duplicator and Lance instead. And I love the detail of like Lance was left with 1 health. It wasn't like a buzzer beater versus where you had to go back to the camera footage and slow it down to see who died first. Lance, if barely breathing, is still alive by the end of that match. It was close, but it's undisputed. There is no frame data to analyze. One of those balls was still bouncing around by the end. This might be the thumbnail of the video if we're being serious. On 2 HP, so you have people doing the fucking All Might still standing pose, which I feel is personally appropriate. Gallop on Lance. It doesn't matter how many balls you send at me. 1 thrust can defeat them all. You have to stay on the run and try and do some chip damage, baby. You were not capable of getting Lance out of the game on your own, Duplicator. Some people celebrated the fact that Lance was finally able to escape the potential man allegations by actually vanquishing the threat that people said they could have beat under different circumstances. They got it done when others couldn't. They thought they were a middling, like maybe fucking C-tier ball weapon. Nope, never fucking pair that motherfucker with these guys ever again. I'm never getting these 2 hours of my life back. Okay, Elvive, I will play at least a little of your video to honor your sacrifice. Kwote. That's really embarrassing that a guy reading English and isn't a native speaker knew how to pronounce Kwote before I did. I learned this year, by the way. Oh my god, it actually fucking fits with the Lance motif and the gallop on. Holy fuck. Oh, this is what that other fan art I was looking at was based off of. Dude, he's doing it! He's doing it! Fucking cinema, dude. You're not gonna see shit this good on fucking Instagram Reels. I'm telling you that. Unless it's a repost! That's my fucking goat right there! I declare this duel to be my victory, and it's just all the fucking dead dupe balls in the back who perish trying to protect their dupe prime. All for nothing, man. Cut in fucking half, impaled. Lance is on goddamn top. The goat clutch at the end. You just can't fucking outdo him, man. Duplicator watching Lance take out 90% of his clone swarm in 1 swipe. He did it like twice as well. I gotta rewatch that, man. Like the amount of balls that were on screen and then how many were left after 1 attack. We saw this multiple times. Like, look at how many. Boom! Boom! Like, it went from 16 to 5 in a split second. He got it back up to 13. And Lance is like, no, you're not pulling that shit again. Genuinely godlike shit. Bad news, Captain. We've only got 1 bullet. What's the good news? We've got 1 bullet. Holy fuck, it goes so hard. This might be my favorite one. Hitler ball dead! Literally just eating all the dupes for food, roasting them over a campfire while Lance just has the blood of dupe on its face and blade still. Holy fuck, dude. This might be the greatest shit I've seen in Twitter in a while. Next, it's your turn, Lance. Getting the motivation to finish the job from fucking Unarmed, dude. This stuff is so peak. I could actually go on for this for longer than is maybe right. I think the thing to remember now, though, is that this makes Lance the guy to get. Unless Duplicator, like, comes back on a crazy streak, there's gotta be a rematch, man. We gotta see if it can pull it off again. And if this was just a fluke on Lance's part, considering how close it came to dying, or if it can maintain this dominant run. Lance might become Pol Pot to the general weapon ball fan base if it doesn't run its PR right, and I'm looking forward to further updates. Be sure to follow me on Twitter @withAY. That email's in the description if you guys want to send me any video topics. Anyways, piss off.